That clink, you know the one. You pull into a tight parking spot, you swing the door open just a little too fast, and the very edge of that door kisses the concrete pillar with a sound that goes straight through your spine. You look down, and there it is. A chip no wider than a grain of rice, sitting right on the lip of your door, where the silver of bare metal is already winking at you in the sunlight. And here is the part nobody tells you. That tiny chip is not cosmetic. That is ground zero. That is where the rust is born. Because the edge of your door is the single thinnest, most vulnerable strip of paint on your entire car, and water has just found its doorway in. So what do most people do? They panic, they drive to the parts store, and they buy those thick black rubber edge guards, the ones that come in a coil and promise to protect your doors forever. And for about 3 months, they kind of work. Then summer hits. The sun bakes them, the cheap adhesive starts to ooze, the rubber turns a sickly yellow brown, and one day you grab the door and the whole strip peels off in your hand like an old banana skin, leaving behind a streak of gummy, gray, disgusting glue that is now permanently bonded to the very paint it was supposed to save. You went to protect your car, and you ended up with a sticky scar that holds dirt like flypaper. Welcome to the protection scam, and today I am going to tear the whole thing apart. Here is what the detailing world does not want floating around on the internet because it threatens an entire revenue stream. You do not need a $400 protection package. You do not need a molded plastic guard. You do not need a guy in a shiny showroom telling you about ceramic edge sealant. The real fix, the one professional installers quietly use on cars worth more than your house, is a thin strip of clear urethane film, the same family of material as professional paint protection film, sold in pre-cut door edge rolls for the price of a fast food meal. It goes on transparent, it disappears against your paint, and it turns the most fragile edge of your car into the toughest. While the dealership is charging you the price of a used motorcycle, the actual material costs a few dollars per door, and it is sitting on a shelf right now waiting for you. Now, let me tell you who the real villain is here, because it is not just the dealership salesman. It is the way the entire industry is structured to profit from your car aging badly. The people who build cars know exactly where paint fails first. They know the electrostatic painting process leaves coverage thinnest on sharp 90-degree edges, because liquid paint physically pulls away from a sharp corner as it cures. They know it. The engineers know it. And instead of fixing it from the factory, the system is happy to let your door edges chip and bloom into rust by year 5, because a rusty, tired-looking car is a car you trade in early, and an early trade-in is another sale. Your loss of value is somebody else's quarterly target. So if that makes your blood boil even a little, hit that subscribe button right now and join what I call the Edge Defense, because we are the people who refuse to let our cars rot on schedule, and we keep our resale value pinned at 100% out of pure spite. Let me show you why the clear film actually works, because this is not magic, this is material science, and it is beautiful. The film is a thermoplastic polyurethane, a long-chain elastomer, which is a fancy way of saying it behaves like an incredibly tough, incredibly thin layer of intelligent rubber. When a stone or a concrete pillar strikes a rigid coating, the energy has nowhere to go, so the brittle layer cracks and your paint cracks with it. But an elastomer does the opposite. It deforms on impact, it stretches at the molecular level, and it spreads that strike energy sideways across a wide area instead of letting it punch straight down into your clear coat. The impact gets absorbed and dissipated rather than transmitted. On top of that, these films carry a hydrophobic top layer with a very low surface energy, so water beads up and rolls off instead of sitting in the seam and feeding corrosion. And here is the genuinely clever part. Because the polymer has elastic memory, light scratches and swirl marks in the film will literally close themselves back up when the surface warms in the sun or under hot water, flowing back to smooth. So you get an edge that absorbs impacts, sheds water, and self-heals minor marks, all in a layer thinner than a sheet of paper that you cannot even see from 2 feet away. Now compare that to what the dealership and the parts store are selling you. Those thick, molded plastic and rubber guards are not protection, they are a trap. Think about what actually happens when you clamp a solid, non-breathing strip of plastic over a painted metal edge. Every time it rains, every time you drive through a puddle, every time winter road salt sprays up into the wheel arches. Moisture wicks underneath that guard through capillary action and gets pinned against your paint with no airflow and no way to evaporate. You have built a moisture sandwich. You have created a warm, wet, salty little pocket sealed against bare metal, which is the exact recipe a chemist would write if you asked them how to grow rust as fast as physically possible. The guard is not a shield, it is a rust incubator, and you paid a premium and signed a finance document to have it bolted onto your car. That $400 protection package is, in many cases, accelerating the very damage it claims to prevent, and that is the part that should genuinely make you angry. So, let me give you the real protocol, and you need to follow this exactly, because the difference between a perfect invisible edge and a peeling mess is entirely in the preparation. Step 1. Wash the door edge with soap and water and get the grit off, because any sand left on that lip will turn into a permanent bump under the film. Step 2. And do not skip this. Wipe the entire edge down thoroughly with isopropyl alcohol until the cloth comes away clean. You are removing every trace of wax, oil, and grease so the film can grip the paint and not the contamination. Step 3. Peel your pre-cut clear film, mist the edge and your fingers with a tiny amount of soapy slip solution so you can position it, and then lay it over the edge and wrap it firmly around the lip, working slowly from one end to the other. Step 4. Take a soft squeegee or even a clean microfiber over your thumb and press all the slip solution and air out from the center toward the edges until the film goes completely clear and locks down flat. Now here is the critical warning, and this is the one that separates people who protect their car from people who quietly destroy it. You must press out every single air bubble and every drop of trapped solution before you finish, especially along the folded edge. If you leave the film loose or you leave bubbles underneath, you have just rebuilt the exact problem you were trying to escape. Under direct summer sun, the air trapped in those pockets heats up and expands, the bubbles balloon outward and start lifting the film, and that lifted pocket becomes a cup that collects condensation and pulls moisture straight out of the humid air and holds it against your paint. A bad install does not protect the edge. It seals water onto bare metal and farms the corrosion for you, slowly, invisibly, until you peel it back in 2 years and find a crust of orange where your edge used to be. Tight, clean, and bubble-free, or do not do it at all. So let us put the two options side by side one last time so it is impossible to forget. On one side, you have the $400 dealership package and the thick, yellowing rubber guards, both of which are bulky, both of which are visible and ugly, both of which trap salt and water against your paint, and both of which are quietly building rust while taking your money. On the other side, you have a few dollars of clear urethane edge film that is functionally invisible, that absorbs and spreads impact energy instead of cracking, that beads water away, that heals its own light scratches in the sun. And that costs less than the snacks you bought at the gas station this morning. One is a rust trap you finance, the other is a force field you buy with pocket change. The choice is not even close. And now you know the difference that the showroom hoped you never would. Do one thing for me. If you have a friend who just drove a brand new car off the lot, somebody who is about to park it in a tight garage or a crowded lot for the very first time, send them this video right now before that first clink ever happens. Because protecting a flawless edge costs $1, but fixing a rusted one costs a repaint, and the edge defense does not let our people get caught